with Alexis and his freaking dog. I understand. Okay.
If they got rid of Newton, they wouldn't have no problems.
She talks to her sister Amber.
Mm-hmm.
By video chat. FaceTime, Zoom, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
And, you know, she's catching her up about what's going on with them. She was like, you know, I feel like, you know, we've been in some Stranger Things type of situations.
Yeah, it's rough.
And she said, I don't know if I told you, but Newton got attacked. Your nephew got attacked. And that's, she said it like that to everybody. He got attacked. He got attacked. I was like...
He did get attacked, though. Did he not get attacked?
Maya warned him. I'm not saying it's right. Maya warned him in the first place. We all saw it. When Newton came by, she was like... And so when he came back again, she was like, okay, I tried to tell you. I took and told you.
And you know what Maya doing right now?
In the concentration. You got to watch the panel from this past Sunday. The comments are hilarious. They talk about, they put Maya in Alcatraz and Rikers.
And concentration camp. She doing her bid.
That was terrible.
She got her dog going right now, scraping the gates.
That was terrible.
Scraping the gates. Anyway.
But she said, you know, your nephew got attacked, and you know, we came to the conclusion that his dog had to go to the aggression camp, and if she come back, she's still aggressive. Now they've settled this. They talked about it. If she still has a problem, we're going to give the dog. The dog's going to stay with a friend of his. And we'll go from there. Okay, good. Because I'm like, get a dog away. You might not be around, and then he won't have nothing to show for it. Won't have no dog. Won't have no wife. None of that. So, I'm glad they said that. She shares that, oh, he told me he loved me on the honeymoon. And, girl, I told him too. And Amber's like, 2 weeks?
2 weeks.
2 weeks
she
in?
She was like 2 weeks in.
I think that's a bit much. But she was like, you know, he's just so sweet and he's lovable, though. And Amber said, I understand that, but protect your heart.
Mm-hmm.
You know, she's got reservations, though. Alexis shares, you know, with him, you know, he's being vague. Not giving me full answers. He doesn't understand to her being vague is lying. You know, he held back the information about the dog, that she's been in some incidences before. And she said, you know, I have to get out of my head. I'm stuck in that, you know. But to me, to him, vague doesn't equal untruthful. But to her, it does.
Right. She feel like he's hiding something.
Uh-huh.
Especially after the community. I think this is what I understood about Alexis. Because I think we talked about this on a panel, or we had a discussion about this. When you tell somebody something, and you're building trust in a relationship, your word better be your bond.
Mm-hmm.
Your word has to be your bond. So he told her that I'm going to over-communicate. That I'm going to share everything with you. I'm not going to hide anything else. I'm going to over-communicate. I'm going to give you all the information. And what she did, she took him literally. That he is going to, I need you to over-communicate with me. In other words, what she's saying is an over-communication. I need you to make me feel like that you trust me. That we're close. I need to know because I have a problem with trust, and you need to make me secure in this situation. You need to make me feel safe, and he didn't.
Yeah.
I mean, he broke his promise. He didn't over-communicate.
And she was like, it makes you question everything, you know, when they're vague. And Amber tells her, you know, he has to work on that, and that she needs to be open-hearted, but also be smart about it. Keep your eyes open. But also, in keeping your eyes open, also, don't hold every little thing. You have to take it in stride, basically, Amber told her.
Pick and choose your battles.
But then what happens in between there, we see a nighttime conversation on the hotel. The apartment cameras, where they had a disagreement. Okay, Newton was throwing up blood. I'm gonna summarize it. Newton's been throwing up blood.
A little blood and stool.
Why you didn't tell me that he hasn't eaten in 2 days? I thought you was feeding him. You didn't say anything. And he said, because I thought I had it handled. You still gave him his medication. without him eating because I was taking care of him. He's supposed to take his medicine. You know, why you didn't tell me? Again, I thought I had it taken care of. She was like, here you go again, being vague. You said you was going to over-communicate. You didn't tell me that. And he was like, because I thought I had it under control. You said, baby, I over-communicate. She said, but you don't. I'm struggling with my emotions. He's being vague. I feel like that's manipulative. Being vague is manipulative. It's disingenuous. I don't like it.
All right, let me give you.
She said all this in the car.
In her vignette. Give you some clarity here. Now, Justin says on After Party that the eating wasn't that he wasn't eating. He just did eat a full bowl. He had a half a bowl of his food. And he said, I told Alexis that some of this is because the dog shifted and moved different places. He's still getting used to the environment, still getting used to a routine, and so he may not be eating that. So then, you know, Keisha asked, what's the girl? Kristen about that. And she said Luna did the same thing. And she wasted thousands of dollars taking them to the vet and to find out there was nothing wrong with them. So Justin is using his expertise of being a dog owner to try to alleviate. Now, this is me. If I'm Justin, I know how she feels about this dog. I understand how she feels about Newton. He is her son. It is a grown kid. I'm sorry. This is a furry kid. A furry kid. This is what she looks at him as. So, again, my dog attacked Newton, and it was a whole big thing. So, anything happens to Newton, just me, I'm letting know, you know, Newton stubbed his toe today. You know, Newton ran into the refrigerator today. You know, Newton's eye is still messed up. I am communicating to her everything about this dog. How was your day? Day was all right, but do you know, by the way, I saw when we was walking Newton, I saw this. By the way, do you know when this was going on, I saw it. Not that I understand what he tried to do. He tried to show that he's responsible. This is part where he's trying to build the trust back up by showing her he's responsible, that he can take care of Newton and do all the things he can do. I call it the backup quarterback syndrome. When he's trying to get in the game, once he gets in the game, he's trying not to mess up. And so he's trying not to mess up anymore in this relationship, and he's walking on eggshells with her. And by not over-communicating, she's going like, hey, I need to know because, again, it's Newton.
Yeah, and what we talked about was the fact that people still need to understand they're 2 weeks into the process. And I know he said he would over-communicate, but old habits are hard to break.
Yes.
And so it's not going to get broke in 2 weeks. So for all of these couples, I think sometimes they're expecting change to happen in 2 weeks. And we've talked about this on several seasons. They're expecting changes to happen in 2 weeks. And people that have been doing this all their lives.
It's going to take time.
All their lives.
But there's some people who can adjust, though.
Yeah.
She's adjusting differently to what there's some people who can adjust. There's some people who take more time to adjust. And she doesn't understand it's taking him more time to adjust. And, you know, it goes to also, people have different I mean, you would think vague would be obvious, but people have different definitions of what they feel is vague, what they feel is a lie, what's untruthful, a half-truth, a whole lie, you know, that kind of stuff. So, but back to he's trying. This is the thing. I think as a man, he is trying to do what's right
until
he's struggling.
Until this candy shop,
which goes into the candy shop. Now, to give you a backdrop on the candy shop, Alexis, after the argument her and Justin had, she went to her apartment for 2 days. She went back home for 2 days. So they, leading into the candy shop, while they seem so cold, and she arrived by herself and he arrived later, they're not together at this point. Now, he did say they did have some great phone conversations while they were gone. They kind of worked some things out, but he's still feeling some type of way as he comes to the candy shop. And he wasn't coming. He said, I wasn't going to come. I wasn't going to show up. And we see Alexis talk about that when she goes into the candy shop, that she's still going to plan for the party, even though she's not sure if the party's going to happen or not. But Justin was like, I'm not coming to this thing. Which, you know, is kind of petty, but we see him be extra petty later, though.
Yeah, because they sit down while at the candy shop. And, okay, so it's a 90s themed party. They're trying to get...
Welcome to the
I
candy
need somebody
shop.
to... It's 90s themed, so they're getting the candy. And side note, it's 90s themed. They didn't tell nobody. And I didn't see nothing else there 90s themed.
They put the little hip-hop plastic thing up.
But anyway, and the candy doesn't automatically make it 90s themes because people still have ring pops and a lot of that candy people still eat. But anyway.
Well, a lot of that candy didn't come out in the 90s neither, though. So that stuff was the 80s. Anyway.
But anyway, so at the candy shop, you know, they sit down and, you know, he says, you know, I'm fine and I'm not upset and with her. But his problem was she keeps saying I'm done. He was like, she says, but when I told you I was done, I didn't mean done with the marriage. Like, I'm done with this conversation. I'm done talking about this. Like, that's what I meant. And he said, you know, I thought I was being helpful. You know, I didn't over-communicate but because I thought I had it handled. And so he wasn't holding back. He just thought he had everything under control. And so that's why he didn't say anything to her. And, you know, he said, it's fine. I won't say anything. I won't say anything. And then she was like, well, that defeats the purpose because I told you to over-communicate. So next time I'm not going to say nothing. And
so then she's like, that's not how marriage is supposed to work. That's not how marriage is supposed to work. And he was like, basically, you ain't let me get no word in edgewise.
And he was like, but I see you like this. You like to get a rise. I see you like to, you know, like start stuff up. You like moments like this. And she was like, what?
I don't do drama.
Normally, I don't do drama. I'm not the one that likes to argue. So for you to say that I'm doing this because, you know, it gets a rise, like, what are you talking about?
He handled this poorly. He's so childish in this. To me, I think he was childish in this whole discussion and in this argument here. Especially with that comment. When you arguing, you have to you have to listen more than you speak. I've learned that in my 20-some years of marriage. As we get to 21, learned that because you have to listen more so. Because what she said, even with the I'm done. I'm sure she said I'm done with this conversation, but he's so caught up in his feelings that when he hears done, he really believed that done with marriage because his last girlfriend, fiance, whatever, left him. So he's fearful that everybody's gonna leave him. That's why he's such a people pleaser. Mm-hmm. That I'm gonna please people so they don't leave out of my life. And so he's hearing done, but interpreting done as she wanted to get done with this marriage. That she wants to get out of this marriage. And she even said it. She said, I think she told her friends, I was mad at him, but I still found myself buying him body wash or buying him soap or buying whatever. And I think he doesn't know how to have I don't want to say grown folk, a marriage argument. Every marriage argument is not going to lead to divorce. Every marriage argument, it doesn't mean it needs to go to divorce. It is an argument within your marriage that you guys going to have to work out on. Mm-hmm. And it's 2 weeks in. Y'all, that's what his friend said. Like, okay, y'all had an argument, so what? Expect that.
Mm-hmm. In the end, at the candy shop, though, she was like, I'm done. I can't communicate with you like this. She asked them to take her mic off. And, like, even when they setting up for the party, she was like, it's tense. You know, we're not really talking to each other. Yeah. You know, when the friends come in, you know, it's still tangible tension in the air, whatever. But her friends Emma and Will come. His friends Amari and Whitney come. And they had a nice little setup, though, for them to be mad at each other. They had nice little burger sliders. And they were like, Will was like, well, this is the best housewarming party I've ever been to.
Yeah, the food looked good.
And I didn't know it was a dress code. And they was like, yeah, we forgot to over-communicate. You know, it was 90s themed. But anyway, and so, you know, she shares that they actually had a fight right before this. Almost didn't have the party. And, you know, the friends are like, well, that's to be expected. Y'all just met each other. You getting to know each other. You don't know everything about each other. So you're going to have some disagreements because you're feeling each other out. And, you know, she apologized to Justin because she was like, I know I didn't talk to you about this beforehand, but I'm getting ready to share something.
And I usually talk to you beforehand, but I'm not.
Yeah. And she said, you know, she told him, you know, they had this miscommunication and sometimes she gets frustrated in him being vague. And I see it as then she's saying in that space, I see it as manipulative. And, you know, she said, I didn't want to sit here in this housewarming and fake it like everything was all good. So, you know, she basically put his business out there like she threw him under the bus. Like, she should have said to call him manipulative in that space without talking to him about it before, that was just out of order.
I mean, do you see her being wrong? Though? I mean, women do that, and you know, transparent. If you're mad, you can be mad regardless of where we go. I know that, regardless of what we do, whether it's church, whether it's a work party, if it's function.
No, I try not to go to church mad. I learned my
whether we do it, whether we do the podcast, y'all look. If we do one of these, and you'll know she mad. Trust me. If we had an argument before doing one of these, but I don't blame her for getting it off her chest. Now, the whole other throwing part under the bus, she could have said it in a way that didn't really throw him underneath the bus. Could have said, look, we had an argument, we had a disagreement, here's the situation, this is what was going on. But she just called him manipulative. And he said they took it.
Yeah, he did.
He had no other choice, but because he wasn't gonna go there. Not there because it's too many, he had sides.
And what he basically said was, I'm gonna put it like this. What he basically said was, when she talks to him, sometimes he feels like he's in the interrogation room. You know how they do on the cop shows, when they put the suspect in the room and they just keep grilling them and asking question after question after question after question after question till the suspect be questioning themselves. Well, was I there? I don't know. I might have did it. You know? And he was like, she asked me question after question, and I have to formulate my thoughts, and I don't have time to formulate my thoughts. And so I just basically kind of say something or don't answer. And she was like, now, Justin. Almost like Jasmine. And now, Michael. She was like, Justin, that I give you time to answer a question. That's not true. And he was like, no. And maybe to him it do feel like it's not enough time for him. It would be enough time for you, but it's not enough for me.
I was going to say that. It may be enough time for her. And when I do that, I ask a question after a question and wait for a response. I'll answer. Like, yo, have you done this? Hey, did it happen? And then, you know, wait for a response. So I understand where she's coming from with asking the question. But I do understand that from the flip side, you have to give people time to understand your question and ask. So.
And so she talks outside with his friends and talks about how their conflict has caused them, you know, not to be around each other, you know, all the time like they did at first. It was like, you know, it was always and the conflict has caused you know, that tension or whatever. And she brought up the dog issue, and his friend Amari shares. She another one. Several people said this to her. I was like, catch the hint. He was like, you know what? I'm a guy. Sometimes guys don't share everything. Nah, I'm a guy. Amari says that.
No, you're not a guy. Not at all. Not at all.
He says, you know, sometimes guys don't share everything beforehand. And when it comes up, like, yeah.
I can talk to that. It is not intentional for us to forget some things. Trust me, it is not intentional. It happens. For men, it happens. And yeah, it happens. I'm gonna leave it that way.
Yeah. Because we often have that conversation. Why you didn't say that the first time? Well, because men, again, it goes to what Justin said. Men process and respond differently.
No, because you want to know why.
And sometimes women have thought out maybe like the whole scenario, and a man hasn't.
Right, and what the man is doing is we're playing, and man, I apologize for putting this out there for you guys. We're playing in reactive mode. Like, how can I say this so she don't get further upset? How can I say this so it doesn't go to the 10th degree? How can I say this so let me formulate my words so it doesn't come off as I'm being aggressive, that I don't come off as being uncaring? How can I say this because it doesn't come off as being as I'm a prick or being a snob, and therefore when you do it, you mess up. But I do need to respond quickly, because if I sit here and be quiet, it looks like so it's all
trying to make a lie up.
We're gonna make a lie up. So all these things
not
are running,
him, I'm just
not
saying.
me, yeah. All these things are running through this guy's head, and he comes out, boom.
Yeah, and
y'all need it's a good book, man. For men only, for women only. You need to read it. I might need to show might put the link in the description, because it talks about all this.
And so he's talking to, you know, her friends. He's like, you know, how should I respond to her when she's upset? And her friend Emma's like, did you ask her?
Yeah.
Ask her how she wants it. Like, she's the best person to ask. How do you want me to respond or whatever? as she can, Alexis continues talking to his friends, and they tell her you may need to revisit some conversations, and go back and she was like, but he just said that inside. That's what he calls digging, and that bothers him or whatever. But Whitney was like, you might still have to refresh the conversations. Maybe don't question, but just go back to the conversation. And his friend Whitney asked, do you love him? And Alexis was like, yeah, I love him. I'm not in love with him. I care about him a lot. And, that's what she talks about. Some days, I'll be reconsidering that. But then, like, I knew the body wash thing. He needs a body wash, and I'm mad at him. Why am I buying him body wash? Because you still like, well, like, it's like, I ain't going to buy no groceries for the house because I'm mad at him. We still got to eat.
I'm going to cut off the part of my lights. I'm going to cut off the part of the lights that I use in the house. I'm going to pay my half of it. Whatever. That's stupid. But anyway.
Or I'll put no toilet paper in the bathroom because I'm mad at him. But then you'd be the next one to go in there.
Go in there. I'm going to leave the toilet seat up on purpose. I'm going to leave the toilet seat up on purpose. No, I never do that, dog.
But, and again, he's talking to her friends. And he says, I get afraid. This is not an 8-week thing for me. This is a lifetime thing. And her friend will encourage him, just stick in there, and work it out, discuss some things and just, you're going to have to figure each other out. And Justice said, his fear, the fear of his is losing her, and he doesn't want her to say no on decision day. Because God knows, we know that's going to mess him up.
Boy,
we know that already.
He cried and they still together. Can you imagine a decision day? They're going to have to talk about Chris and Paige took 3 hours for decision day. They're going to have to console him. But anyway, man.
All right, so